Hello, and welcome to my channel again. Hopefully you are finding these videos helpful, and today will be no exception because we are going to be talking about the mind, the most powerful muscle in our body, right? And we are going to be talking about the millionaire mindset, okay? Now, does the mindset actually have anything to do with how to build wealth? Or is it really just about you guys suck it up and take some action? Or is it a combination of everything? We are going to discuss that. And we're going to figure out how do we build to that financial freedom that we're trying to get to. Because I just want to make a note, when we say millionaire, it doesn't mean once you hit $1 million, it's it, we're done, don't worry about it, right? Millionaire mindset is really about your financial freedom number. Now, that could be less than $1 million, or that could be more than $1 million. That could be 2 million, 3 million. We have this preconceived notion that once you hit $1 million, you're set for life. And if you're a high spender, that might not be true. If you're in a high spending state, like if you're in California or one in New York, that you have to have more money to survive, $1 million might not cut it. But if you're, live pretty low means and you live in a place that your house is paid off and you don't have to spend that much money, maybe $500,000 is your, financial freedom number. So you need to figure out what that number is for you. But we're just going to use millionaire as a, overall generic term. Figure out what that number is for you. Reach out if you have any questions or if you don't know how to figure that out. I'm happy to show you that. I might do a video on that if you want to. So leave some comments below if you would like to see a video on that. Okay, so during times like this, it is difficult. We go into the grocery store and we basically, I am at least, I close my eyes and just hit okay and pay for it because I almost don't want to see how much things cost. I was checking out at Walmart the other day and the lady behind me, she made me laugh, but basically she's like, I cannot believe that this was $135 for this. How did that happen? What did we buy that was $135? And I laugh because that's my sentiment every single week. I'm like, how did this happen? What is going on? Everything is so expensive. Drugstore makeup is like $20. What is going on? I don't understand why everything's so expensive. Well, it's inflation, and I can tell you all the economics of why it's so expensive, but it doesn't make it feel any better for any of us, right? And so when we are doing this, it feels almost impossible in times like this. It's so hard to save. Home insurance is going up, auto insurance is going up, car prices are going up, housing prices are going up, rent's going up, everything's going up. And you're like, how do you expect me to save? But there are people that are doing it. There was a recent article from CNBC that came out that said that there are 5.5 million millionaires out there. And not just millionaires as net worth, but liquid assets that are over $1 million. Meaning we're not just taking the equity of their home and saying, okay, well, you're a millionaire. They actually have cash, available cash that is over $1 million. So they've saved to that number. And that number is up. Basically, in the last 5 years, that number has gone up 35%. That is a huge amount. And so people are figuring this out. Now, is this because they have some side hustle that they're doing? Did they get lucky? Were they born into it? Well, they probably weren't born into it, right? Because they wouldn't be rising into that. But maybe inheritance or something like that. What is happening? Well, some of this might be a mindset shift. And if that is what is helping these people, why can't you learn that as well? Why can't we discuss this and see if your mindset shift could be the key to pairing with strategy and getting you to where you want to be, which is financial freedom, having a life that you get to live the life you love now, not be encumbered by things that that you can't pay for because you've got to work so hard. We all want to be able to do what we want to do when we want to do it without anybody telling us that we can't do it and nothing holding us back. That's financial freedom. And so when we talk about that millionaire mindset, let's actually define what that means. So Forbes says It is holding the belief and thought patterns millionaires adopt to build and manage wealth. Okay. And so it's all sounding like it's right up here, right in your brain, right? You got to just believe that you're going to build and manage that wealth. And if you Google millionaire mindset, there are tons of podcasts and articles, and they're talking about how do you develop this mindset and manifest and all this stuff. Manifest, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure somebody's going to disagree with my definition of it, is believing and really feeling and embodying that you are that multimillionaire, that you are that millionaire, that you've got all this cash, and that it will eventually happen by just believing that it's going to happen. The Secret was a lot about manifestation, if you've read that. And so Forbes then continues, which I think is interesting, to say that the millionaire mindset is built of confidence, courage, strategic thinking, resilience, and relentless work ethic. Doesn't sound like a mindset so much anymore. It sounds like you just gotta work harder, right? And you're like, I'm working hard enough. Like, I'm killing myself. What are you talking about, right? But it really is more about things that you can build in your daily life to help you build that muscle, build that confidence, build that strategy to continue to go when obstacles get in our way. Because that's really the key, right? Is that we are going along and we're saving pretty well. Maybe you had a resolution that, 2024 was going to be your year that you're going to save, I don't know, $30,000. Let's say that was your goal. And now we're hitting obstacles. We had Mother's Day, and maybe you had a birthday, maybe you had this and you had that, and we're falling off our saving strategy, right? And how are you going to overcome those obstacles? That is, to me, the key to the millionaire mindset, right? How you overcome it, how you kind of come up to these challenges, these obstacles, and hopefully leap over them to continue on. Because so many people come up to those challenges and they just shy away. And they say, I can't do it. It's not going to work for me. And that's not a millionaire mindset, right? It's about pushing through, charging through, and getting what you need to get done, right? And so it really is about a couple of things. It's habits that you're building. It's characteristics that you form within yourself. It's beliefs that you hold. And it's really, in my opinion, values of knowing what's important to you and knowing what you're not going to compromise on. And if this is something that you will not compromise on, you will leap over these hurdles. So let's talk about some of these characteristics and habits and things that you can start working on. One is risk taking. Now, I'm not saying go throw all your money in black in Vegas. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying take all your money and invest it in XYZ stock, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that you have to start thinking in a way of calculated risk. You've got to start thinking with the end in mind. You also have to start thinking about, what kind of risk am I willing to take? I was just listening to a podcast with Ray Dalio on it. He ran one of the biggest hedge funds out there. I think it's called Bridgewater. Apologize if that's wrong. And he was talking about calculated risks that he's taken. And, he talks about his investing strategy, which he calls it an all-weather portfolio, where he says, you shouldn't want to lose more than 25% of your portfolio because it's so hard to regain it. And I can agree with that. I mean, it's hard when you lose 50% of your portfolio because you've got to make back 100% to get back to where you're at. 25 seems somewhat reasonable to expect to lose on a down part of the market. And if you can lose less than that, that's always better. And of course, we try to do that with clients and stuff, depending on their risk. But he talks about just his risk style in general. And he's bought his first stock at 12 years old. I mean, I tell you, I was not thinking about stocks at 12 years old, but he was a caddy for golfers and they talked about stocks and he got interested and he bought his first stock. And of course it did very well. If it hadn't, he probably would not have continued on in this world of investing, but it did very well. And, he's gone through a lot. He's, put a lot into a business and it failed and he had to rebuild, and there's a lot of calculated risk that goes into when he's thinking about building a business. Now, I know that there are some criticism about him and he's not so great. There's a book out about how it's kind of all a farce what he's done and stuff. I haven't read that book yet, just FYI, but I just think it's an interesting concept to look at one of the best traders out there and who ran a huge hedge fund, like I think is the biggest hedge fund out there, and why they were so successful. It's really about how do you look at what other people are doing and adapt it for your life. So does that mean, well, you're out because you didn't buy your first stock at 12? No, but I do believe it's about thinking about end in mind, thinking about results, thinking about downturn risk, thinking about what your ultimate goal is, and going forward with that. And that's what he talked a lot about in this podcast interview. And it was one with Tony Robbins was asking him a bunch of questions. So, of course, Tony Robbins had a lot of good things to say in there, too. Another one is goal setting. Now, a lot of times when I'm talking to prospects, I say, tell me about your goals. And I feel like an internal roll of the eyes because we're always so tired of talking about our goals, what our goals are, But at the same time, without goals, I don't know what we're aiming for. I don't know what your bullseye is. I don't know what we're trying to accomplish. I don't know what you want. And without specific goals, you don't know what you want. And it's so hard to get there if you don't know what you want, right? And you cannot go through life not having goals in life. You cannot have just, we hope for the best, cross our fingers. Maybe the accounts will get up to over 1 million. Maybe they won't. No, you do have to have specific goals and try to hit those goals. Does that mean that you should be looking at your portfolio and saying it should be at 250 this year? It should be at blah, blah. Not necessarily. I think that that's a little aggressive because markets do their thing too, and you're not going to be able to control the rate of return, but you can control your savings. You can control how much you save and where you save to. You can control how involved you are with it. Doesn't mean you're trading all the time. That's not what I mean by that, but you can be involved with how things are doing and have an open mindset about things. And I would say, there's those things called SMART goals, which are, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant? And is it time bound? And a lot of times the time bound thing is the thing that I cannot get people to grasp onto when I'm working with them, because they just kind of say, oh, when it works or when it happens, or they kind of don't get serious until they hit like 55 or 60. And then they're like, oops, now we got to really push it because I want to be done at 65. You got to really have set goals of where you want to be by certain ages. And if you didn't achieve it, okay, what can we do differently? Can I save more? Should I be putting it in different areas? Is liquidity more important to me, or do I want to have rental property? I just did a video on that. That might be the way that you want to go for some of your wealth building. Maybe you don't. Maybe you are very conservative in how you want to hold things, so you're going to be using high yield savings accounts mostly. You've got to really think about all the different elements that you can control. And if you are not looking at that at a regular basis and having those SMART goal elements attached to it, it's going to be very difficult. I don't know if anybody's watched The Last Dance by Michael Jordan. It made a huge impression on me. And he always knew what he was working on. He always knew what he wanted to get better at, what he wanted the team to get better at. Does everybody have to have the work ethic of Michael Jordan? No. But it's a really inspiring thing to see somebody who knows what they want and they're going after it and they're working on it consistently. Continuous learning is another aspect. I am always reading something. I've always got a podcast on. I've always got an audiobook going. I'm always trying to learn something different. Even on YouTube, I watch, silly makeup videos, but I'm learning how to put makeup on differently, things like that. I learn. I like learning things. And I do think that that makes me quite different than most people. Most people don't want to learn something new. They feel like they know it all or that they can't learn anything different. And I think that that's dangerous in many respects. I think that continually learning and growing can have positives and negatives. There is a little bit of that shiny object syndrome that can happen when you do that, which I have done in the past, which I try not to anymore. I try to stay very focused. It's difficult, but you hear a good idea and you're like, ooh, I should do that too. But having an open mindset is really important, and continuing learning does that. And honestly, a lot of billionaires that you listen to on podcasts and things like that, this is what they do, is they continually are learning. And Warren Buffett has a great quote. He says, generally speaking, investing in yourself is the best thing you can do. Anything that improves your own talents, nobody can take away or can tax it or take it away from you. I think that's great, because it's about that control. What can you control and what can you make better? And I think that, continuing education and continuing learning is really important. Doesn't mean you have to go to school. It just means find free resources that are out there. Go to the library, check out some audiobooks, listen to podcasts. They're free. Like, there are so many great ideas out there. There are articles that are for free all over the internet. Find that time to continually learn. Delayed gratification. This is a big one for a lot of people. When they start investing or when they start building wealth, if they don't see that instant result, it's really difficult. I mean, we compare wealth building and weight loss a lot because they're very similar. We eat a salad and we're like, why isn't it down 5 pounds? Same thing. I do that too. I get it. And same thing goes with investing. We go, why isn't it up 100% already? Well, it's not up 10%. I mean, it's been 2 months, That's just not the way things work. And delayed gratification means having belief that you are going to achieve it, but understanding that it might not happen right away. And knowing that if you quit, you might have quit 10 days before you hit your goal. Maybe it was 10 years, but maybe it was 10 days. And you won't ever know if you do not realize that that delayed gratification is part of building something. We call it wealth building for a reason. You're building, right? That's part of the strategy. And delayed gratification means sometimes you're just trying and trying and trying, and you're tweaking and you're seeing and you're happening, and you finally get it. Like Thomas Edison is a great example of this. He failed something like 2,000 times, and he had over 10,000 prototypes of the light bulb. I mean, gosh, thank goodness that this man did not give up, because we wouldn't have the light bulb. Oh, maybe somebody else would have figured it out, but we wouldn't have had it when he did it. And essentially, it's part of building that muscle, is that delayed gratification. That is an obstacle that you are going to keep hitting against, and you got to keep going until you break that wall down or you jump over it. There is not an easy way to do this. You might get your first million easily, but does that mean you can grow it after that? No. Look at how many celebrities get, I wouldn't say it's easy. They probably took a lot of time to get there, but get a lot of wealth quickly, and then they ruin it all and they're bankrupt. Because just because you got to a certain level does not mean you can continue to do that. Maybe you don't have that muscle and you're not working on that muscle, or you let that muscle become limp because you thought you hit the gold mine, but you can't do that. Again, Michael Jordan, he won and he kept wanting to win. You just keep going, right? And then another thing is patience, which I think is different than delayed gratification. Patience is one of those things, they say patience is a virtue for a reason. And, Henry Ford failed 5 times. He failed 5 times and went broke 5 times before he got to the, Ford Motor Company. And I think patience is so underrated. I'm building a YouTube channel and it's not going quickly. And does that mean I stop? No, I just keep going, because I think patience is a virtue. And for those of you who watch this, I hope you get something out of it. I hope I helped in a way, you know? That's the reason I'm doing this. And does that mean I have 12 billion subscribers? No, I don't. I definitely don't. But I continue to do it because I believe that it will build. I believe that patience is a virtue, and I keep putting out content that I'm proud of, that I think can help people. And I think that that's what we need to do. And I think, you know, somebody who talks about this a lot is Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a media mogul. Basically, he does a lot of social media. He's written a bunch of books. He's great if you have not heard him before. But he talks about patience, and he has this whole article that I would definitely recommend called How My Definition of Patience is Often Misunderstood. And he starts the article by a gentleman who's posting, you know, don't listen to Gary Vee. You got to make stuff happen. You got to take action. You got to do stuff quickly. And Gary Vee is saying, look, I'm not saying that you don't work hard or you don't take action or you don't move swiftly. I'm saying that there is time that passes for people. Maybe somebody's 50, and I don't want them to feel like they can't do something different. And that patience is part of that muscle that you build as you grow, and it gets you through those really rough times. And I really think that that's important to know that patience is there. And I do think that the continuing learning really builds into this patience, because continually learning kind of makes you feel like you're moving faster than you maybe are. You know, maybe you're taking those right steps, but just things aren't happening. And that continual learning can continue that motivation that you need. So I do think a lot of these really feed into each other's, like patience and delayed gratification. Many people would say they're very similar or the same thing. I think they're a little different, but anyhow, it's really about overcoming obstacles, whether it's time, listening to others when they are just telling their success stories. I have a whole video on that too, called Your Friend Bob. I did it a long time ago, but you often are just hearing their successes and not their failures. Keep that in mind. Media, you know, how many people you put in millionaire or building wealth mindset, and hopefully this video shows up, but you'll see some guy on a beach being like, if you do this, then, you know, you'll be on this beach too. I mean, it's just, you know, there's so much crud out there that is distracting you from getting the actual work done that you want to get done so that you can live the life that you really want. You know, and there's your own voice telling you, you can't do this. What are you, crazy? You know, all this stuff. And so we are our worst saboteurs in many respects. And so how do we change that around? I really think that these habits that we've been talking about can really do that. So I hope that you have understood that taking action with your mindset is the key. You know, you need to have a strategy. You need to have an open mindset with that strategy, meaning don't get sucked in by the shiny object syndrome, but understanding that you are going to be continually learning. Things will continually change in your strategy when it comes to building your, you know, your money, your mindset, your financial freedom, because there are things that change over time. Regulations change. Different types of vehicles open up that might be better for you. There are just lots of things out there. So keep an open mindset, but don't get sucked into the shiny object syndrome. You know, this is great. This will make it for me easier. That I'll make it faster over here. That's the bad thing. You don't want to do that. But if there's something that comes along that can help get you in a better position, and you do your research and you do your risk analysis and you figure it out and it can help, that might be something to incorporate. Don't move everything over to one thing. Incorporate diversification, right? But you want to have this mindset, this strong muscle mindset to go along with this, because there will be obstacles. It's never like this. If it was like this, everybody would be in the stock market. And not everybody is, because not everybody has a stomach for it, because it goes like this. You know, it's hard. It's very difficult to be an investor in this world right now, especially with a lot of algorithmic trading. I can go into a whole other, you know, thing, but the video is going long. So anyhow, so I really hope you will take some action, start developing some of your mindset, you know, needs. If anything, if I can give you one thing to do, just start reading some financial articles. This listening to things about finance, getting some different ideas. That will do a huge amount for you and your mindset. So I hope that this has helped. There are some resources on our website too that can help with this. You know, Baby Step Your Way to Financial Freedom is one that comes to mind that gives you some different things that you can do to like really push yourself there. So feel free to download that if you'd like. And just remember that there is a lot out there. This is a very complicated subject, and be kind to yourself, like we said at the beginning. That's the most important thing. Know where you're going, be kind to yourself, enjoy the ride. Enjoy it. So much more fun that way. And so the next video is going to be on lifestyle inflation. We talked about this a little bit. You know, balancing what you want versus what you need, especially during times like this. How do we do that in the right way? So I hope you tune in for that. Thank you so much for staying on with this video. It is a little longer than my usual ones, but I think that this is really important to talk about. And hopefully you will find this a great deal of help. Pass it along to people if you think that they will find some value out of it as well. And thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video.